And one. Hey, everybody, and welcome to, let's see, the 27th episode of Before the Baldman Speaks. I'm your host, as always, Andrew the Clown Kid Lawrence, and joining me tonight, helping me break down the main event from Boston, Massachusetts, Fight Night. God, we're up to probably 81 or so on Fox Sports 1 in the main event between TJ Dillashaw and Dominick Cruz. Helping me break it all down, my man from Taiwan, Carlin Bardsley. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right, man. Yeah, this is interesting. I'm watching fights on a Monday morning, my time. So a little outside the element for me, but we had a great main event to close things out. So I'm happy to be here, happy to start talking about it, man.
Yeah, and let's get right into it because we had, a decent amount of controversy in the main event, although controversy might not be the word I'd use to describe it, but there's definitely some talk about it. Let's just have it out. How did you score each individual round between TJ Dillashaw and Dominick Cruz here?
I had the first 3 rounds for Dominick Cruz. I gave the last 2 to TJ Dillashaw. My final card was 48-47 Cruz and new bantamweight champion.
Yeah, and, we have a lot of different scorecards here that were submitted as a final result. That's a scorecard for Dominick Cruz that I can really understand, because if we're talking about what rounds were the clearest, I'm going to be firm in the idea that the 4th and the 5th round were kind of clear for TJ Dillashaw, and I think that they were maybe the most easy to score out of all the rounds in this fight. What do you think about that?
Yeah, as Cruz's foot problems really kind of seemed to mount in the later rounds, he was not nearly as fluid as he was in the first 3, so that gave TJ the opportunity to keep scoring. But I already thought he had 3 in the bank at that point. I mean, TJ threw a lot at Dominick Cruz the first 3 rounds. It did not hit a lot. Cruz's counter game looked on point. You know, like he did a lot better job boxing in the pocket than I remember him being. So I thought Cruz looked absolutely fantastic for the first 15 and pretty good for the last 10. But, clearly TJ, I think, had 4 and 5.
Yeah, I scored the second round clearly for Dominick Cruz. I think that was his best round. I think he was making the most damage in his punches. His combinations looked the cleanest, and there wasn't any moments in that round where TJ looked like, he really stunned Dom. I scored this card actually. I scored it differently. I scored it for TJ Dillashaw. I scored rounds. Let's see here: 1, 3, 4, and 5. All
really?
To TJ.
So you had
Yeah.
You had 49-46 TJ. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
It was
a
third
really
round
close
I was
fight.
back and forth on. That third round I was really close on, and I also want to point out that first round, my note that I wrote down after the first round is razor close first round. TJ Dillashaw by a hair, and I draw a little hair. So
I actually put a hair down in those kind of
yes,
situations.
I get some duct tape, and just put one singular hair.
Hair.
Yes. TJ Dillashaw here, it looked like he was being effective in parts of rounds 1 through 3. So I kind of always hesitate in those kind of back and forth rounds to give all the rounds to one guy when I know it was kind of an even fight. Now I know that's not judging according to like the standard rules of judging in a 10-9 system, but I think that this speaks to kind of the limitations of a 10-9 judging system, in that you could give a scorecard in for Dominick Cruz and think that TJ won the fight. Does that apply to you in your score?
I scored it, despite the lack of empathy I have for the 10-9 system. I think it's complete anachronism, and I don't understand why we use it. It's what we have. So I looked at the rounds. 1, 2, and 3 were the rounds that I had for Dominick Cruz. If we give this fight 5 more minutes, maybe TJ Dillashaw is and still, right? But let's just look at Robbie Lawler and Carlos Condit from a little while back. I mean, I had it for Lawler 48-47. No issue with the 48-47 Condit card either, though. And the fact of the matter is, if that went 5 more minutes, we might be talking about another Robbie Lawler knockout. So it's unfortunate, but we have to deal with the hand we're given right now. So, I think the 10-point must system, I don't know why we use it. Someone who used to be a name of some repute in Canadian MMA used to give me shit all the time and say, well, we'll come up with something better. And it's like, listen, dude, I don't need to say relying on oil is a bad idea without being able to perfect cold fusion myself, okay? Bad ideas are bad ideas. So that's where I land on it.
Yeah, and I've talked about this a lot. I'm a proponent of just at least some sort of experimentation with the format. So either we score it simpler and go Pride style, or we, add more numbers into this thing, and you have to give out at least 199 per round. Let's give them a couple more numbers to play around with. If they don't like, if they think giving away one is a lot, well, how about when you have 100 points to dole out in a round? You're willing to give out some, 197s? Almost giving kind of percentages to the score. I'd try both effects and see if judging gets better or gets worse in either of those cases. If you had to pride score this fight, what would you do?
If I had to pride score, if you're judging the fight on a whole, usually you judge it by whoever's winning at the end. So that's like that's the unfortunate part of a pride style scoring is that Cruz had in my view anyway 15 out of 25 minutes, but Dillashaw had the last 10. So that's where that kind of scoring system kind of has a flaw for me. But going back to what you were saying earlier about more numbers, I mean, they are experimenting in some places with a half-point scoring system. I think if even we just liberalize what a 10-8 round can mean, that may do something. Maybe we increase the number of judges. We go to 5 judges instead of 3. Maybe if the referees just actually call the goddamn rules and take points instead of everyone gets 5 free fouls to start a fight, maybe that'll have an impact on scoring. You never know, but you never know till you try.
Someone said something really funny, and it stuck with me, that, fouls in MMA right now are kind of like personal fouls in basketball. You get your allowable 5 for the game, and then if you go over that, that's when it's going to start costing you. That's when we're going to send them at the free throw line.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, actually. The way I always look at it, because I'm a hockey guy, it's like MMA seems to be the only sport where, it was an accident. Is like, okay, then it's not a foul. Like, could you imagine in hockey, someone just takes the lumber, gets them right in the mush, opens up a cut. Well, I don't think he meant to. We're not going to send him to the penalty box. Nah, keep playing.
Yeah, the interpretation of intention is hilarious in MMA. And not that I'm, wholeheartedly against it, but let's be honest. When do we ever see a foul that happens in MMA and the commentators are like, well, he blatantly meant that. That guy's an asshole. Yeah. It's all constantly, this guy's a gentleman's competitor. Completely unintentional. You don't understand Muay Thai, guys. It's all right at home. Guys get poked in the eyes. Shit happens.
Yeah, exactly. It's especially, I might as well segue into the whole Travis Brown thing. Holy jeez, just going into the second knuckle on Matt Mitrione, not once but twice. And Gary Foreman, I want you to remember this name, Gary Foreman, the referee, because you will never see him again. It just stands there and goes, all right. And then 30 seconds later, it's like someone was just screaming at him enough from the crowd or the corner. He's like, all right, maybe I should stop and check if he's okay. Like, holy Christ, man! The weird delay was the worst part of that whole thing. It was almost like
Go ahead.
Sorry, it was almost like Hughes Trigg too, when Trigg got him in the berries, and the referee went in to bring up, and then Trigg kept throwing punches. Like, well, he's still fighting. Maybe I should just kind of back off into the background now.
Yeah, that got awkward very quickly, and honestly, I think that had a substantial effect on the outcome of the fight. I know that the finishing sequence happened later, and Matt Mitrione did ask to kind of continue, but I just don't see how after that second eye poke you don't call a penalty. Just like maybe Dominick Cruz, I think it was in the 4th round or maybe the 3rd round, where he had a series of maybe like 6 in a row.
Fence grabs, yeah,
cage grabs that were just really blatant. It's.
I felt bad for Herb Dean there. I felt really bad for Herb Dean. And I'll tell you why. Because he knows that Dominick Cruz is driving the fence, but he also knows that after that whole Mitrione Brown mess, if he takes a point for Cruz from driving the fence and nothing happened to fucking Travis Brown, it's a terrible look, and that'll be the headline the next day. So I feel bad for Herb Dean. He was in a no-win situation there.
Yeah, Herb Dean, probably one of the better refs, shouldering the burden for maybe some others less. Everyone who's watching the show live, definitely hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag BTBMS, and we'll answer any of your questions. Or if you want to chime in with your scores for the main event, let us know what rounds you took on each one of them, and we'll let us know your scores for each individual round, and we can kind of dissect your thought process. I guess
let's get inside your minds.
Let's dig around and probe into your psyche. All right, so let's talk about the let's talk about the co-main event.
It's gonna get scary. I don't want to go into the psyche of MMA fans.
We're segueing, Carlin. We're avoiding it. Yeah, that will not be happening. Eddie Alvarez against Anthony Pettis in a very interesting, kind of controversial decision as well. Eddie Alvarez squeaks out a split decision victory here, 229-28, and the other judge going against him there. How did you score that one?
Yeah, I had a 29-28 Eddie Alvarez. I thought that was the right card. But round one again was really, really close. I mean, Pettis landed some great power shots, but Alvarez, he fought dirty. By dirty, I don't mean Travis Brown dirty. I mean like he was getting in there and mucking it up and just not giving Anthony Pettis any time to get set, making him wear him like a blanket. Just not giving the guy any room to move, to get off some of that flashy stuff at all. And I respected that. So I gave him 1 and 3. Anthony Pettis, still a top flight athlete in my book, but he's really got to work on that takedown defense, man. Because I think I saw a stat he's been taken down like 15 times in the past 2 fights.
I thought that it was props for Joe Rogan to mention the Clay Guida blueprint laid out there for him, really digging into the past that UFC really doesn't want to acknowledge. They've really propped Anthony Pettis up because he's such a talented athlete, and he does kind of have that charisma that, they want and like, and it's easy for them to market a fighter like that. So props to Rogan for even throwing that back because, I'd kind of forgotten about it a little bit. But once again, we had a razor close first round. Kind of a clear round for Anthony Pettis in the second, and kind of a clear round for Alvarez in the third. So you get one of these, another one of the fights where I think the 10-9 system doesn't do anyone justice. We'll avoid that discussion because we could just have it, basically 4 or 5 times a card. Not that it's not an important discussion to have, but let's talk about these fighters here. Eddie Alvarez, kind of a guy who came into the UFC, fought a murderer's row, fell apart at the beginning. Now he's turning it around. How quickly do you see the UFC kind of catapulting him into these number 1 contender spots, title shots? 55 is kind of in flux right now, though. So what do you do with them?
Yeah, well, I think you got to keep pushing him back up that ladder. He came into the UFC with a lot of fanfare, the huge Bellator contract and everything else, and he underperformed at the beginning, but it appears that Eddie Alvarez has finally found his stride in the UFC. Now he's got to win over the former champ. I mean, you got to keep pushing him up that ladder. I mean, we're going to see Eddie Alvarez challenge for a 155 title shot, if not shortly, before the end of the year, I would think.
Yeah, I want to agree with you because I think that his talent levels at that, it's there, and I think his name recognition and value. And let's be honest, he doesn't have that many more years to kind of wait around. But I just wonder how many times that belt going to get, defended. We're already looking at, kind of Conor McGregor, that whole rigmarole, and then what'll he do if he actually wins the belt? Is Eddie the next guy to fight for 155? I don't think so. I think, Tony Ferguson and some other names have it better for him. So Eddie's stuck in a bad spot.
Alvarez about Ferguson myself. Ferguson's come on really hot right now, but Alvarez just took out the former champ. I don't think Tony Ferguson's resume matches Eddie Alvarez's, quite frankly. So, if I'm the one calling the shots, and believe me, I'm not. But if I were, I would completely be the one advocating for an Eddie Alvarez shot. But again, the Conor McGregor question, that really muddies things up a lot.
Yeah, because if Conor ends up winning this belt, you see the Frankie fight probably happening next, around 200 or sometime in the summer, and then he slides into one more fight. It's probably at 55 pounds then. Eddie could do it, but he'll probably have to win one more.
There may be an Alvarez-Ferguson title eliminator. Sign me up for that too.
Yeah, that's the one great thing in the 155-pound division. You're kind of, winning in every kind of matchup that can be made amongst the people in the top 10 there. Breaking down some of people's questions on Twitter, Lemon GF says, foul situation is crazy. 3 eye pokes before a point deduction is crazy. Yeah, that is crazy. We mentioned that. All right, Nick Baldwin, big friend of the show. What's a better fight? Yeah, what's a better fight, Cruz Dillashaw or Lawler Condit? He scored at 1, 2, 3, and 5 for Dominick, FYI. Wow, so he was a 4-1 for Dominick. So what did you think
Yeah.
was better, Lawler or Condit, or the one we just saw?
I thought Lawler Condit was better, but only marginally. And again, that just comes down to personal preference. Nothing about technique or anything like that. It's just after Lawler and Condit for like 20 minutes, my heart just couldn't stop beating so quickly. For this fight, it was still beating pretty quickly, but it went down after about 4 or 5. So on the Carlin cardiac scale, Lawler Condit comes out ahead.
Yeah, let's hope the healthcare situation over there in Taiwan can handle the cardiac arrest. Yeah, I'm gonna give it the Condit Robbie Lawler fight, just because let's not doubt the effect of big dudes throwing down. There's just something great about watching big dudes sling leather. That's always gonna up the excitement level. Nick Baldwin also
shifts I thought were a lot more dramatic in Lawler Condit as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that everything being so close to those first 3 rounds, and then when someone was kind of taking a lead in the fight, TJ, it was kind of mitigated in a couple situations by, so there wasn't anything that was so over the top happening during the fight. Nick also asked, where does Anthony Pettis go from here? Tough loss for Anthony Pettis because might have been a win in some people's eyes. A flashy guy, a guy they want to market a lot. You probably want to match him up with the 55er with a high-profile loss. I don't know. Where do you see Showtime? Do you got anyone?
I don't have anyone that jumps right to mind, and that's kind of where Anthony Pettis is right now. He's kind of in this weird sort of purgatory, and I'm sure he's going to look better in his next fight. Just getting back in there, getting some more solid cage time. I'm not quite sure what the answer is to do with him, though. Like the name that keeps coming to mind is Tony Ferguson. Maybe that's the name that Tony Ferguson will make his quote-unquote main event bones on. Maybe it's Showtime.
Yeah, it's
I'll have a bowl of Wheaties and I'll think about it.
Yeah, these immediate right after, it's easier to peg someone kind of with a win because you understand who's rolling with the momentum. Guys who are taking a step back like Pettis is, it's kind of hard to find off the top of your head someone similarly on a downslope.
And it depends too when Khabib Nurmagomedov comes back as well. If he comes back, he's been away for forever. Maybe Pettis and Khabib is a good fight that way.
Yeah, definitely. Lemon GF says, scored rounds 1, 2, 3, all 10-9s for Cruz, and 4, 5, 10-9s for TJ. So similar card to you, Carlin. Rounds 1, 4, 5 for TJ, Flying Brian. So he kind of scored it for TJ. Still kind of the same controversy. Everyone's kind of seeing 4 and 5 for TJ. That seems pretty consistent across the board here.
You know what? 5 was close too because TJ, while he did retain enough control to have that round score for him, I thought there were large portions of that round where he seemed kind of determined just to give it away, and I was like, "Holy jeez, man! Like you're not fighting a guy that feels like or looks like he feels like he's in danger of losing his title right now." Ultimately, I did score for Dillashaw, but I can see where a couple of those stranger round 5 for Cruz scores come from, if nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, every single round here, with the exception of maybe the 4th, I wouldn't call you incompetent at scoring MMA just for having a difference of a score with me there.
This was not a Diego Sanchez fight, okay? This was a very, very close fight. Yeah, exactly. With the 3 rounds out of 5 that are, I think, clearly in play. So that's that's the way these things roll sometimes.
Yeah, it's unfortunate kind of that, it's almost the consequence of high-level execution of this sport that this controversy will happen. This sport is kind of manufactured this style of fighting, and fighters are getting so much better, and the technique is being raised to such a level that people can neutralize each other quite well. And it's almost a shame that the scoring of this sport hasn't became as nuanced to be able to kind of highlight the differences or the advantages that these fighters actually have. But like I said, we can literally discuss this 4 or 5 times on every single card, so I really don't want to get stuck on it. As depressing as it is, you kind of just got to move on and say, hopefully these guys fight again soon. Do you want to do an immediate rematch on this? I mean, you got to do the Faber thing because it's the money thing to do. But do you
Right.
keep TJ like right in the wing, insert him into the winner right after that? Maybe one more fight, of course, to just keep him fresh. What are you thinking?
Well, I think it all depends on how bad Dominick Cruz's foot is. I mean, if he's
Oh,
going to have to take 6 months or so, then you do Dillashaw and Faber at UFC 200. I think you have the winner of that fight, Cruz. In the immediate offing, I think you do Cruz and Faber 3, have TJ wait in the wings, and have him get the rematch, because either way, that's another money fight down the road. I mean, the UFC bantamweight division, the main event scene right now is an embarrassment of riches. It really is. So it really depends on what direction you want to go. And I think the biggest question is where Dominick Cruz's health is at. I was kind of half facetious on Twitter earlier when I said prediction: Dominick Cruz wins the title and immediately announces another surgery. And
yeah.
I was kind of kidding, but it looks like that may happen. So with Cruz and Faber and Dillashaw, the three guys, they have their entire narrative there. Either way they want to go with, that's going to work. Aljamain Sterling, no matter what happens with him, if they can give him his money too, there's another wild card there. I mean, the top of the UFC bantamweight division has not looked this cool in a while.
Yeah, and I guess that's to be something to be happy about here. There were some other 135ers that fought today that I thought were impressive. Their names are kind of forgotten, and this is the shaky part of it. Oh yeah, we saw Rob Font fight early on Fight Pass. That's the 135er I was talking about, and also Luke Sanders fighting at 45, but he's a natural 35er. So we have a crop of people coming up in 135. I think for a while in the UFC, the bantamweight division was, established fighters. You had to have made your style and been a concrete thing to kind of, contend there. They only had maybe 12 or so, fighters on contract, I know, when they established the division. But now we're seeing a new young crop of people kind of, rising up. How long do you think a guy like Dominick Cruz can be, a champion? What kind of reign do you see for him on top?
I mean, do you really want to doubt the guy after what he just did tonight? I mean, for Christ's sakes, man. I mean, one of the more incredible comebacks I've ever seen. As long as his health, maintains, I mean, he's got a few, at least, great years left in the tank, in my opinion. I mean, those first few rounds look as quick and as elusive as ever. As long as the pins are staying underneath him, then, hey, he can go for a long, long time, man.
Yeah, I think with Dominick Cruz, it'll all kind of be a question of health and
until his next knee surgery. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. And let's hope that everything is fine for him. We'll talk briefly about the card, the fight that opened the main card. Jesus Christ, with Rob Pearson fighting Francisco Trinaldo. A great upset victory for Massaranduba here, or are we kind of seeing Ross Pearson become a little shop-worn in front of us?
Yes. Both. The correct answer is yes. I mean, I thought Pearson was going to be a little bit more nimble. I thought his boxing was going to be able to let him get in and out more on Trinaldo. And I've had a lot of great success picking against Brazilian guys since the new USDA testing came in. Yeah. So I kind of saw Trinaldo gassing at the end and Pearson being able to pull it out. And again, this is one of those fights, if it had 5 more minutes, maybe he would have. Pearson seemed to be scoring a lot more as the third round went on. But again, it was too little. It was too late. Great win for Trinaldo. James Lynch actually brought up a point that maybe Ross Pearson's career trajectory kind of matching Sam Stout's at this point. I wasn't sure on that analogy just because I think Sam Stout's decline was much sharper and much more analogous to Chuck Liddell's, I thought, because all of a sudden he was just walking through everyone's punches and one day he couldn't anymore. I don't know that we're seeing that from Ross Pearson yet. At the same time, he does look, markedly less nimble than I remember him being.
Yeah, I get the comparison to Sam Stout, but yeah, I think I remember Stout's chin kind of just deteriorated overnight. I was shocked with Ross's great performance against Felder in the fight before, and you're right. I think he definitely took advantage of Massaranduba in the third round there and caught him gassing. But a great fight for the Brazilian. I thought his boxing looked improved. I think that the style...
the straight right beautifully a few times.
Yes, exactly. I think that stylistically this worked out for him. He didn't have to think too much about, the wrestling and the grappling game, and could just institute his range, really well there. Too bad for Ross Pearson. He's a name, and he'll stick around because the UFC likes names, and they definitely can't afford to lose someone like him to Bellator. But
because Europe, that's why. Because Europe.
Yeah, there'll be a card in London or Scotland or somewhere close by that they need Ross Pearson for. So not the worst thing in the world. So hats off to Messer and Duba for his victory. Canadian Patrick Cote in the
Cote.
One of the more annoying Canadian things. You guys are such nice, kind people, and then you come out with some obnoxious shit like that. Jesus Christ.
Gotta love us.
It's the same melody. It's the same melody as everyone does, except because you could say Cote, you could have done that with any one-word syllable.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, you're right. Cote doesn't have like a special ring for it. It's that special accent over the O that makes it happen.
We call that a circumflex.
What?
We call that a circumflex.
Jesus Christ! You've said it to me twice, and I won't even venture trying to pronounce it. But he wiped the floor with Ben Saunders today. Ben Saunders, a guy who's dangerous off his guard, but God just kind of got ate up, by Cote in top position, and then caught him with some power in the second rounds. What do you see for Cote, a guy who people were down on, not so many fights ago, and now you look at him and you see, he's a veteran, been in the UFC for a while, could be hitting his stride.
Yeah, he's really had a career resurgence. Good on the guy. He's a super nice guy as well. And how fitting was it that the Canadian gets the win with a flurry that looked like something out of a hockey fight? I mean, that was just beautiful to me. I was waiting for him to try a jersey of Ben Saunders and throwing those uppercuts. I was just like, yeah. And I was waiting for him to put on a Habs jersey afterwards, but no, we can't do that. Even though, all right, side note, I'll get back to Cote in a second. Okay. Okay, so side story here. I was going to joke about him wearing a Montreal Canadiens jersey, but he wouldn't be allowed to under the Reebok deal, even though Reebok makes NHL jerseys. Charles Rosa actually asked to have a Boston Bruins jersey on. I said, well, hey, it's Reebok. They're like, no, you can't do that because of the Reebok deal. He's like, but Reebok. No, because of Reebok. But Reebok. No, Reebok. Oh. So anyway, fuck Reebok. Getting back to Cote.
They're missing out. That's some great cross-promotional branding right there.
I know, you can't wear another product from the company that's the sponsor.
If I'm a brand manager and that gets pitched to me as an idea, I'm like, brilliant. You know what? Yeah. We should do that for an entire Canadian fight card night. Get them custom-made jerseys. That's thinking.
Yeah, exactly. But the Reebok deal is clearly not about thinking. It has not been from day one. Anyway, getting back to Cote. So he's having a career resurgence right now. The fundamentals still look good. He can still take a shot and give one back. Yeah. I mean, he just looks like he's having fun out there. And the more names that he's got on his list, the more high-profile names you kind of have to keep going to him. I mean, you could actually put him on a main event of a fight night card here in Canada against someone who's high-profile as well. But then again, you'd have to have a card in Canada to do that.
Yeah, and the UFC's not going back to Canada. I think that we found out due to some contract negotiations with George St. Pierre not going Dana's way. He's throwing a crying fit.
The entire country, the
entire country of Canada has been banned, my friend. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to pay money to see Mighty Mouse main event a card? Well, then to hell with the entire country. It's like, why should we be the only ones expected to fucking pay to see a Mighty Mouse fight? Give me a break, man.
No, there'll be a fight night card in Saskatoon soon.
Yeah. Let's hope that works out well. Who knows, right?
Headlined by I don't know, like Brandon Thatch.
Brandon Thatch, there we go. Yeah, I like. Oh man, but Tom Wright, the director of UFC Canada, he said that there's going to be 5 cards in Canada this year. But Tom Wright has never been right about anything ever, and it drives me nuts how Tom Wright will not talk to me anymore because of one interview and experience I had with him. But it drives me nuts how any Canadian MMA journalist never follows up anything Tom Wright says was, why should we believe you? You're never right about anything.
Yeah, it's kind of absurd, but I can't knock Wright's hustle right here because he's probably got the cushiest gig in all the UFC. Head of a country that doesn't throw fights, so you're just collecting a paycheck. Not much promotion to do. You take an interview here or there. You block Carlin Bardsley on social media, and you're all set.
Yeah, that's the gig. That's the gig right there, man. And
Once
it's
every
fun.
month there might be a card in Saskatoon. You got to show up for, wave the
Once a
flag.
month there should be a card in Saskatoon. The UFC should just run Saskatoon from here on else. I mean, fuck Vegas, fuck everything else. Just monthly Saskatoon shows.
If Saskatoon becomes the fight capital of the world, how happy would Canadians be? The population grows by 50% in Saskatoon. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, exactly. So it goes to what, 50,000 or something? Like, honestly, no one would like it if Saskatoon become the fight capital of the world, because it's one of the flyover states. You have in the States, we have in Canada too. It's one of the flyover provinces. I mean, you have Vancouver over here, you have Toronto and Montreal over here, and then there's just a whole lot of nothing.
It's just so funny to me that, the UFC's dying, or Canadian fans of the UFC are dying for cards, and they're like, "Yeah, we got you. Here's the Saskatoon card." And everyone's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, how about a place where we live? Anywhere where
that would be great.
where we actually exist." Okay, so we could go rapid fire a little bit through these prelims, if we want, because some of them aren't worth too much discussion, but some of them there were some good highlights. I'll mention Ed Herman with with the KO victory over Tim Boetsch, hitting him with that knee.
Ed Herman looked fantastic at 205 pounds. We talked to him on the parting shot before this fight. He sounded measured. He sounded focused. He was working with a new strength and conditioning coach. And did you notice in his post-fight interview, the amount of times he said, "Finally, the sport is getting cleaned up"? This is a guy who's been very frustrated with this situation for a very long time.
Master of subtlety.
Yeah, exactly. He's he's a salty dude when he wants to be Ed Herman. You don't get a nickname like Short Fuse for being polite, but he looks great now. Looks like 205 is going to be the last chapter in his career these next couple of years. Let's hope he makes the most of it. And I also just want to add, before we talk about too many other prelims, that I didn't see most of them because it was Monday morning here, and I didn't want to wake up early for the Fight Pass prelims. I'm sorry, I saw no point in doing that.
Yeah, no, there was definitely some stuff not worth worth missing early here. Overall, not terrible prelims, but you really got to do something big in that spot to kind of elicit a reaction. It's a limited audience here, and I see so many fights. Do something big, make a show, people. Chris Wade had a fantastic first round submission victory over Mehdi Baghdad. You gotta clean up these guys who are coming in on short notice, and good on Chris Wade for doing just.
So did Chris Wade drop bombs on Baghdad? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Hey, round of applause, golf clap. Luke Sanders actually had a really great submission victory. Kind of tagged him and jumped right on him. Got I think a rear naked choke finish. Maximo Blanco looked really good, so this is a huge win for a guy at featherweight who's a natural 135er and a good prospect in Luke Sanders.
Luke Sanders will be going back to 35 after this. We had him on the parting shot as well, right. And great for him to get a win on short notice over a very game opponent in Maximo Blanco. But just goes to show you that when you're on the parting shot, you get the combined forces of the Bard's bump and the parting shot push, scientifically proven to be unfuckwithable.
If only more Canadian MMA fans that actually worked for them, or more Canadian MMA fighters, rather. Paul Felder and Darren Cruikshank had the main event spot of the Fight Pass prelims. What do you think about the Fight
really
Pass?
A thing.
I knew you would love that. Can we talk about how that was an announcement?
Was it?
Yeah,
if it was, it flew right by me.
The UFC made a big deal of this. The UFC said there was going to be a huge announcement for UFC Fight Pass. It's going to change the experience completely, to announce that this would be the featured fight on the prelims. And I'm like, well, how is that different from any of the other fights that were broadcast on Fight Pass that were in the last spot? It just
I guess the silver lining,
making it a thing.
Yeah, they're changing the marketing terminology, I guess, is all that really means. But they are putting a lot more effort into Fight Pass. It seems like. I mean, they're having Anderson Silva against Michael Bisping on Fight Pass. I mean, that is that's a real eyebrow raiser to me, because that screams lost pay-per-view dollars to me. But I guess they're willing to use it as a loss leader, try to get more subscription revenue that way. I don't know what the numbers of Fight Pass are like, but they seem to actually be, they're doing more than just putting the toe in the water, which is what they've been doing since its inception. Man, I'm better after I have a few beers on this show, aren't I?
Yeah, definitely. Just this show only runs on liquor, you know.
Yeah, exactly. You do this on a Monday morning when I got to work. This is what you get.
Sunday night, I'm sitting here drinking water. We're stumbling over words. God damn it! People on Twitter, please, send us deliveries of alcohol. You know our address. Yeah.
You know our address.
But Paul Felder gets a huge win.
Just send it to Carlin Bardsley, care of Taiwan. It'll get to me somehow.
the Canadian embassy in Taiwan, in Taipei.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I'll make the drive up to Taipei for that, for sure.
It'll definitely still be cold by the time he gets there.
Yeah.
Felder, with the great victory in the third round here, might have been behind in the scorecards, but secures a rear naked choke. I think kind of the shine on Paul Felder is kind of wearing off a little bit, and people are seeing him kind of for what he is, and it's not quite the mythic Irish Dragon that people wanted him to be after his spinning back fist KO of Danny Castillo.
Yeah, that's quite possible, but even so, I still thought he was good enough to beat Darren Cruikshank, and I wasn't proved wrong in that. Yeah. Because Detroit.
It's good on Darren Cruikshank. I think this is probably near the end for him. He's got a school going for him, and I hope all those endeavors go well for him. But I'm just not sure if there's a spot for him here in a very stacked lightweight division in the UFC. Yair Latifi blew Sean O'Connell's fucking head off.
I saw that because they replayed it later on. Yeah, Queen Latifah is for real. Look at that. Do not make a fat black woman angry.
Oh, that killed me. He says Queen Latifah. Oh no. Oh God. Yeah, Yair Latifi, man. The sledgehammer. Lived up to the nickname. Jesus Christ. I had Sean O'Connell in this fight. I thought that he was an athletic dude and would be able to move off the center line, but God, it didn't take much. Once that stout ass Swedish dude connects, you're just going out.
Oh yeah, dude is built like a bowling ball. He reminds me, hockey fans will like this. He reminds me of Ty Domi, who was a very famous enforcer for the Toronto Maple Leafs back in the day. Just a guy that he's in shape. He's round, but he's got a cinder block on his shoulders and he hits like a truck.
Yeah, that seems to be Latifi's way to win a fight here. Not going to be the most technical guy. Not going to be the most athletic dude. Doesn't kind of have the arm span and the height you expect at 205. But God damn it, will he swing at you hard as fuck and can probably take a decent shot himself.
Yeah, dude can swat.
Yeah. Before that, I think we had an upset victory. Charles Rosa wasn't the underdog. Charles Rosa was the favorite. No. But Kyle put him in some dangerous positions. But Charles Rosa, hometown Boston guy, a really nice guy, tough in the weight class. So good to kind of see him get that victory in Boston.
Yeah, again, another parting shot guess with another victory, and he would have got the finish. He would have got the finish had he been allowed to wear his Boston Bruins jersey out there. That's what I'm saying.
If both fighters had jerseys on, that was Rosa all day. He would have utilized pulled the jersey over the back of the head.
Yeah, exactly. I only wish Rosa and Cote were like more similar size. I'd love to see an actual hockey fight between the two of them.
All right, and before that we had Rob Font. Another local guy, local for the area around Boston, fighting Joey Gomez, a New Hampshire kid, actually, my home state. Joey Gomez, availed himself pretty well as you could in a knockout loss. But he was in there swinging and exchanging. It just seemed that Rob Font was, just more talented, a little bit more athletic than him.
Yeah, he was just better. I mean, there's a lot of people who are very high on Rob Font right now, and he showed why. It's good reason. Believe the hype. Rob Font is for real.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of times you see very young fighters take a lot of time off for injury, and people are, rightfully hesitant when they come back to the octagon. But sometimes that can be a great blessing in disguise for younger fighters, a great time for them to kind of develop their skills, away from the constant need to go into camp and take a next fight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree on that too. Just, the compensation is not as such where, that these guys can actually focus on, developing their skill set rather than, oh my God, I really need to get paid. Fucking the rent's due. Rolly DeLorme, the famous story about he got that fight of the night bonus. He's like, I can finally pay my water bill.
Yeah, hopefully 50 G's you can pay your water bill for a couple months. But yeah, I always remind people here that once you start getting to this area of the card down here, you're talking about hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck, except there's no steady paycheck kind of lifestyles for all these guys. So I always
like Elias Theodoro told me, it's fists and famine.
Yeah, right. And especially when your fists are landing. If you're taking fists, it's famine time for you. Barroso, Francimar Barroso, one of the more unentertaining fighters in the UFC, opened up this card with a victory that was par. So I guess that's an improvement for him.
Yay!
that I think sums it up. I'd like to see.
I actually like Elvis Matopchik, though. Yeah. He used to fight up here in Canada, the MFC. I'm sure they'll bring him back because they got a Croatia card happening soon, and he'll be a nice little local name to have on there as well. So, nothing too much loss for Elvis Matopchik on this one because no one really saw this fight.
Yeah, I think that definitely helps, and I don't even think he fought so poorly. It was clear he didn't win, but he just in a lot of situations looked undersized. Nothing really else to say about this. Let's talk about the card in general and just get your overall thoughts on how it was, the presentation, the pacing. What did you rank this card A to F? American grade school style. What grade do you give it?
I always hate answering those kind of questions because everyone's kind of different. Well, the pacing was absolutely fucking brutal. Like even for the usual brutal pacing that these FS1 offerings usually are, they were even worse. But it gave me time to do some laundry and make a little breakfast and do some things that way. So I guess it was a blessing in disguise. You gotta love the main event. You gotta be happy about that. That really kind of carried the day. I didn't have to wait up too late to see it, so that's maybe if I was away on the East Coast of the States right now, going, oh, I just want to go to bed, maybe I'd feel differently. It's a little bit of a weird one. Alvarez and Pettis, that was a close fight. I don't think it was the fireworks that a lot of people were hoping for. Travis Brown and Matt Mitrione was just an absolute god-awful mess. Trinaldo and Pearson was kind of by the book, nothing offensive, but nothing to write home about. Peacoat had a beautiful knockout over Saunders, and I guess that was the main card, right? Or the main card started with Ed Herman or with Patrick Cote? I can't remember now.
The main card started with Ross Pearson and Trinaldo.
Oh, really? So it was only a four-card main card?
Yeah, over here on these prelims are on FS1 and then also the main card's on FS1. So is there really any fucking difference between them?
Yeah, I'm a little confused, but yeah. Anyway, I'll give it a solid B- for and really most of that comes from the main event, and the co-main was also a little bit, I don't know. There's still too much lag, still too much still too much meh.
Yeah. I get you on the pacing, and I kind of alluded to it when I even asked the question. It just gets really tough to watch so much preview junk, and you're there, you're locked in, you're committed to this fight, and then you're seeing kind of hype footage, which is bizarre because the hype footage is what's supposed to get me to come to the fight. I'm here though, so I don't.
We're already here. You've got my money. Show me the fight.
Exactly. It's like when we see, commercials to buy Fight Pass on Fight Pass events. It's like, motherfucker, I purchased this product you're advertising.
How do you think I got here?
I couldn't see this fucking commercial if I hadn't already bought it. It gets a little, it gets a little much. But the overall, the main event was kind of, what was being sold to us in this fight card, and it delivered. I gave the main event by itself a B+. because I don't think it was one of those classic title fights that'll go down in my memory, and I'll be able to tell you how I scored each round, 1 year from now. But I do think that this was extremely high-level MMA and probably some of the most technical fighting we'll see from the sport in quite a while. The rest of the card kind of faltered a little bit. I landed on a B. If you factor in all the goddamn pacing of this fight, though, this fight could easily fall apart to a B minus C. Okay, let's give out our awards. Pretend that we're Joe Silva. Who wins your performance of the night? You can give out 2, and then think about your fight of the night. But first, we'll do performance of the night. Who would you give out 2 performance of the night bonuses to, Carlin?
We got to give one to let's see. From what I saw, anyway, I would give him to Patrick Cote and Ed Herman.
Yeah, very solid. I think that Ed Herman's finish and what he's done for the sport, it's probably a good look to give him one. I'd give one out to Ilir Latifi. So my 2 would be Ed Herman and Ilir Latifi. That was just a great knockout, and I am partial to watching big dudes throw leather. Before we give out our fight of the night bonuses, a couple more things from Twitter. Nick Baldwin says, not watching the press conference because this show's more entertaining. Thank you. Was Cruz transferred to the hospital?
Goddamn right it is.
Yeah, of course, it should be. Those pressers are getting beyond dull. If you watch those, I watch the post-fight pressers every night just because, I don't know, I'm stupid. I need more.
I'm looking at Twitter now, and apparently Travis Brown was like, what? A rematch? Is there really that much controversy with the fight? It's like, yeah, shithead, there actually kind of is.
Yeah, no, you dug your fingers into his eye socket twice.
Weird how people don't like that, huh?
Yeah, dude, does that affect a fight, being able to see?
Yeah. What, really?
Cruz was transferred to the hospital, or will he be at the presser? So I guess that's still kind of in question. Maybe Cruz is showing up by now. I wouldn't be shocked if that news got checked up. Oh, God. Flying Brian says, Ilir Latifi next 205 title shot? Only in my dreams, my friends. Only in my dreams. 3 losses in a row. 3 losses in a row by rear naked choke for the Detroit superstar. Ooh, that is not a stat you want. And then finally, Flying Brian says he'd favor El Cucuy over Showtime Pettis. Not quite sure about all that, but El Cucuy's dangerous right now.
Yeah, be a great fight.
Overall, we on the same page here. What's your fight of the night?
I mean, it's an easy one. It's got to be Dillashaw Cruz. Nothing else is even close.
Yeah, in a card that's being billed as kind of one of the greatest bantamweight fights in the world, this kind of delivered in the technical aspect, if not completely in the dramatic sense. A little bit more high drama would have taken this fight from a very good fight to a legendary fight. We just needed, a couple more great moments. But overall, a really solid performance, and I'd really like to see T.J. Dillashaw fight a contenders fight around the same time. Faber fights Cruz. I think that only makes sense. I don't think you need to put, TJ back to all the way to the back of the line. A really great showing from him.
I don't think you jeopardize Dillashaw. I think you just, maybe give him some under the table money. Tell him to, take a nice long vacation, come back. The title shot is yours. So, when it's ready. I don't think you risk throwing Dillashaw in there with maybe, like an Aljamain Sterling or one of these young lions that could conceivably fuck everything up for them, right?
Yeah, right. And I think that TJ's name is kind of building as a champion. He had some, exposure in decent-sized cards. So I don't know. And a lot will be determined by the health of Dominick Cruz in the next couple of days as well. Carlin, thanks for doing the show, man. Always appreciate and love having you on. You're always bringing it. Why don't you
we have to do this over beers next time, man, because this whole water thing is just not working for us.
Next time only Saturdays for Carlin Bardsley, because we need a 3-beer minimum in us.
Yes, exactly. You must be at least this tipsy to be in this show.
Yeah, I have to tweet out the wrong links at least 4 times before we can start.
or leave on the where anyone can just kind of click into the show as well. Remember, we had some Taiwanese one time last time too.
Legendary stuff. Why don't you tell the people out there, where they can, hear more from you and how they can follow you on Twitter, social media, etc.
Okay, yeah. Well, be sure to check out the Parting Shot podcast. I host it with James Lynch every week. It's a hell of a lot of fun. This week we have one bantamweight champion, Bibiano Fernandez, and I forget who else. I don't know. But anyway, it's going to be great. We're taping it actually tomorrow night because we had the Sunday show today, so that'll be out soon. Check that out on MMA Odds Breaker or on Twitter at Parting Shot MMA. And I am also on the Twitter myself at Carlin Bardsley. We can talk about face punching. We can talk about beer. We can talk about Guns N' Roses, Asian women, the Canadian political system, Bill Murray movies. I don't really know anything else about anything else, but if it's one of those things, I'm pretty dialed in.
It's important to be specialized in the modern world, and if anyone is, yeah, Carlin Bardsley is a specialist.
Yes.
Thank you for dialing in on a Monday morning. Very much appreciate it. Shout out to Pat Lynch and the Parting Shot and all you guys in the great podcast that you guys come out with every Monday morning. And thank you guys for tuning in and shooting us questions live during the show. We very much appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of your Monday morning. Peace out, people. Take it easy.